From xAI's 113B hype and the dollar's collapse to Campbell's soup resurgence and Waymo's driverless takeover, these diverging signals reveal an economy at war with itself, where AI valuations defy gravity, consumers retreat to basics, and even treasury markets flash warnings of a system under strain.
Tesla, widely known for developing self-driving consumer cars, introduced the most powerful supercomputer. This isn't really a surprise for the company, as Tesla's CEO, Elon Musk, has tweeted about Dojo since 2019 in building the fastest computing chip. In this video, the modern-day geeks are going to talk about why Dojo's supercomputer is different. For starters, supercomputers are not really similar to general-purpose computers. They are high-performance scientific instruments that have been used primarily for scientific and engineering work requiring exceedingly high-speed computations. To achieve Project Dojo's goal of creating the best AI training performance that can learn and process more complex groups of data without sacrificing power/cost efficiency, they built this tiny chip that could process so much more data than a consumer GPU, graphics processing unit, and CPU, central processing unit. They thought about how to build this, so they came up with an idea of distributed computing architecture. The Dojo is operating at a tile level. The single tile is 9 petaflops, and the tiles are going to be connected to one another. Venkatara Menon, the engineer himself, says the chip is like GPU-level compute with a CPU-level flexibility and twice the network chip-level I/O bandwidth. This is backed by the fact that the Dojo supercomputer can have the capacity of an exaflop, which is 1 quintillion 10 to the power of 18 floating point operations per second, or flops. For reference, the world's most powerful consumer GPU, the NVIDIA Titan V, can handle only 110 teraflops, or 110 trillion flops, 10 to the power of 12. While the world's most powerful consumer CPU, AMD Ryzen Threadripper 3990X, only has 13,209.6 gigaflops, or billion flops. The GPU on your laptop could only have around 3 teraflops. Don't be fooled by the size of this chip though. These are built without any gaps, which means that everything you see on its surface can handle data. Thus, multiple chips can be connected to each other to form a more powerful processing unit. Currently, the world's fastest supercomputer is Japan's Fugaku supercomputer, which can handle 442 petaflops or 442 quadrillion flops, 10 to the power of 15. This is primarily used for pharmaceutical purposes, such as studying the chemicals that will work well for certain diseases and analyzing massive amounts of simulations. In second place, we have IBM's Summit supercomputer with only 148 petaflops. Thus, Tesla's Dojo supercomputer would soon be crowned as the world's fastest supercomputer. They really don't aim to be the most powerful supercomputer per se, but to be the best supercomputer when it comes to artificial intelligence technology. So, if more powerful generic computers are built in the future, it doesn't really matter, since Tesla's main purpose is AI learning. The Dojo supercomputer has several uses in various industries, but this idea started because of the self-driving system of Tesla. Although people are impressed by their vehicles, Tesla still believed that the system of their self-driving cars could do much better. With over 1 million vehicles that send out massive amounts of video data, the company needs a more powerful supercomputer that could process, learn, and train the neural nets in order to improve the self-driving experience. Neural nets, by definition, are a form of computing system that has interconnected groups of data. In similar terms, it's like the neurons of the human brain. Supercomputers are used for simulations, creating and calculating endless possibilities of certain situations at a greater speed than a normal human brain can usually handle. Tesla created their own chip internally, which means there are no other companies involved in the process. This is because they used to team up with NVIDIA in order to create a supercomputer. However, it wasn't enough, because GPU chips aren't really designed for artificial intelligence AI learning systems. Thus, they built their own supercomputer, called Project Dojo. Did you like the video? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more modern-day geek content.
xAI will have its first B200 GPU LLM installed, trained and released before OpenAI and Meta have finished installing their B200s. XAI will be done before OpenAI and Meta reach the starting line for training. XAI can triple or quadruple their training time and increase the overall training and still beat the others to market. This XAI AI data center build advantage will last for the next 2 years or more. Why do I assert this? The AI data center builds involve billion-dollar and soon multi-billion-dollar projects. There are perhaps thousands of people involved. It is comparable to building a skyscraper or a gigawatt coal or natural gas power plant. In large and complex infrastructure, energy, and IT projects, you will not be able to greatly change the construction time of your next skyscraper or coal plant.
We're in the big bang of the intelligence explosion. Like we have courtside seats to the big bang of intelligence explosion. One thing's for sure, it won't be boring.
No.
So if
you don't seem to be saying there's a 20% chance of annihilation as often anymore.
I think we should always consider that there's some chance of a bad outcome to try to protect against the bad outcome. We don't want to be complacent and say that everything's just going to be fine. There's no chance of a bad outcome. I sort of think of this maybe in movie terms as like, are we in a Star Trek movie or like, are we in a Gene Roddenberry movie or a James Cameron movie?
Right.
Which movie are we in here? And you could either have a Roddenberry or a Cameron outcome. And I think in this case, we want the Roddenberry outcome.
Yeah.
Let me be crystal clear. What Elon Musk is building with XAI isn't just another tech startup. This is the most aggressive growth play we've seen since Amazon Web Services revolutionized cloud computing. Now look at these numbers. They tell the real story. 1. Valuation math. XAI currently trades at 3x NVIDIA's price-to-sales ratio. 3 times. For context, that's like valuing a new restaurant chain at Michelin star multiples before they've even served their first meal. But here's what keeps hedge fund managers up at night. If they miss targets by just 20%, we could see a 60% collateral call. That's not a correction. That's a collapse. 2. Debt dominoes. The leverage here is staggering. 8.1 debt to equity when the sector average is 3.1. This isn't financial engineering. This is financial acrobatics without a net. Their Hail Mary? Banking on a SpaceX IPO so massive it could cover 400% of their current obligations. They're not just betting on AI, they're betting on space colonization. 3. Grok's unit economics. Now these numbers either represent genius or madness. $19 customer acquisition, cost yielding $127 lifetime value. A 568% payback that would make SaaS founders weep, if it's real. So, here's the trillion-dollar question. Is this the birth of the next AWS or the second coming of WeWork? The numbers say both outcomes are possible. And that's what makes this the most dangerous and potentially lucrative bet in tech today. While everyone debates AI ethics, Elon's building something far more valuable, the ultimate enterprise money printer, hedge fund arms race. Citadel's paying $18 million annually just to shave 47 milliseconds off their trades. That's $383,000 per millisecond, more than most Americans make in a decade. Defense goldmine. The NSA deal's just the start. There's $6 billion in classified bids waiting, because when it comes to AI warfare, the Pentagon's decided better Musk than Beijing. Data liquidation. That Twitter fire hose, it's now a 42 million month revenue stream, 92% gross margins. Even oil barons don't see those kinds of profits. But before you mortgage your house to invest, let's talk about why smart money's hedging. Regulatory guillotine. 14 antitrust investigations hanging over them. The DOJ's worst-case scenario? An $80 billion valuation wipeout. That's Uber's entire market cap. Gone. Client concentration. One bad quarter at Bank of America could vaporize 11% of revenue. That's not diversification. That's Russian roulette with your balance sheet. Hallucination liability. When your AI makes up answers 22% of the time, the lawsuits follow. We're projecting $4 billion annual exposure, enough to bankrupt most Fortune 500s.
We're in the big bang of the intelligence explosion. Like we have courtside seats to the big bang of intelligence explosion. One thing's for sure, it won't be boring.
No.
So if
you don't seem to be saying there's a 20% chance of annihilation as often anymore.
I think we should always consider that there's some chance of a bad outcome to try to protect against the bad outcome. We don't want to be complacent and say that everything's just going to be fine. There's no chance of a bad outcome. I sort of think of this maybe in movie terms as like, are we in a Star Trek movie or like, are we in a Gene Roddenberry movie or a James Cameron movie?
Right.
Which movie are we in here? And you could either have a Roddenberry or a Cameron outcome. And I think in this case, we want the Roddenberry outcome.
Yeah.
Now let's game out 2026, because in this casino, there are no sure bets. Bull case, 28B revenue. If Dojo captures 35% of cloud training, we're looking at Tesla-level growth curves, but that's a big if. Base case, 19B revenue. This assumes 7% monthly Grok growth. Ambitious, but possible if Twitter fully integrates it. Bear trap, 6B revenue. A mild recession could slash enterprise budgets by 40%. Suddenly, those 25K month subscriptions are first on the chopping block. So which future arrives? Honestly, it'll probably be some mix of all three. But one thing's certain. This stock won't just move markets. It'll redefine how we value technological moonshots.